All right, welcome back, everybody. Episode number 23 of the Plumecast. This is my weekly gaming news podcast where I just really like to sit back, talk about anything going on in the games industry. If there's any topics that I wasn't able to get to throughout the week, I'd like to go over those. Or if there's weeks where I've covered pretty much everything I want to talk about, just double down on some of the stuff. And that's going to be more of this episode this week, where I'm really just going to be doubling down and talking about all of the crazy acquisition stuff going on at Xbox and just my overall thoughts on it. And do I think it needs to happen? Do I think Xbox needs to go out and purchase another big studio, another big company in order to really bolster Xbox game studios? But yeah, thank you guys all for stopping by. Thank you for listening, especially if you're a regular listener, somebody who watches my weekly videos. I really do appreciate the support, and just the overall growth of my channel has been awesome because you guys are watching, and obviously YouTube is picking that up and sending out my videos to more people, and the more people that are able to see my content, potentially they like it, potentially the higher the chance that the channel gets to grow. So all the interaction and engagement that you guys provide to my channel really does mean a lot. And hey, if you're new here, thanks for stopping by. It's cool that you found my channel. If you like what you hear throughout this podcast, consider subscribing, helping the channel grow. And if you haven't checked out my channel, I make daily videos from Monday to Friday. Then I have this podcast on Sunday, and my videos are focused mainly on Xbox centric news, as my channel is an Xbox centric news channel. And it's just been an awesome generation, and we're coming up on a year on Xbox, right? We're coming up on a year on Xbox Series X and S, and I have to say it's been one of my favorite and best years for a launch year of a console. I've absolutely loved the Series X and S. I've played them almost pretty much every day that I've had them, honestly, at least a couple of minutes a day when I'm not sitting down and playing for hours, because there's always something to play on it, and the value and the content when I turn on my Xbox is always there. And that's why I'm absolutely loving the Series X and S right now. And I'm thinking, and I've said this before, even within like 6 months into this console, that I think the Series X is going to go down as my favorite console of all time, just with all the content that's available, the backwards compatibility, and everything that it has to offer, how fast it is, all that kind of stuff. I can really see it being at the top of my list by the time this generation is done. But we're still so early. We still have so many games to come. All of the first-party Xbox Game Studio games just have me just so excited for the future of this console. But with all that being said, on this podcast every single week, I do drink a beer. I do really enjoy beer, all the different flavors. A lot of times when I go to my beer store or my liquor store and I'm choosing what beers I want to have, I pick up like a 8-pack where you can like mix and match and pick singles. And I generally just pick up like 8 different beers and try out all these different ones that I haven't tried yet from different craft breweries and stuff like that, and different parts of the world, a lot from Europe generally. I really do like European beers from, I don't know, Poland, from the Netherlands, from Ireland, definitely a lot from Ireland, from Scotland, lots of beers, love Scottish beers. Yeah, even Italian beers. I'm Italian, and I do like the Italian beers like Moretti and Peroni, but yeah, I just like trying beers from everywhere. And the beer that I drink a beer on every podcast. So the beer that I'm drinking today is McLean's Lager. Nothing too crazy, just a very light, fresh lager beer. But it tastes good. So it's from Hanover, Ontario. I'm not 100% sure where that is, but that's where it's from. And yeah, if you see this beer in the beer store, try it out, let me know what you think. And as always, let me know what you guys are drinking in the comments below, because I love to hear what you guys are drinking. I love to hear just your suggestions and stuff, in case just by some magic stroke of luck, maybe you're drinking like a local craft beer or something, and then somehow where I live import it or get it shipped here or something like that, and I'm able to find it at the beer store. I'll definitely try it out. I do have a list. I actually have an Excel spreadsheet. I'm not lying when I say that. I actually do mark it down, and I do bring with me when I go to the beer store and look for these beers, but a lot of them are just probably not going to find them where I am, but I do try my best to find them. So let me know all of that stuff in the comments below. Now, In terms of what I've been playing this week, it's been a mixed bag of stuff. I've played a bunch of stuff this week. So I finished off The Artful Escape. And now, The Artful Escape to me is a very, very interesting game. It is a game that I know this may piss some people off to hear this, but I would classify The Artful Escape less as a game and more of an interactive narrative experience, if that makes any sense. It's a video game. Of course it's a video game. I'm not trying to say it isn't, even though I kind of just did say it isn't. But what I'm trying to say is, for me personally, I don't look at The Artful Escape as like this just absolutely amazing video game. I look at it as an awesome experience overall, and I guess interactive narrative experience, because you're not really doing too many gameplay elements in the game. You're really just taking your character, pushing right or left with your D-pad or your thumbstick, and just moving them across the area that you're in, and then jumping very, very, very minor platforming, and then very, very, very minor rhythm gameplay in it. So yes, there's gameplay. Yes, it's a video game, but to me, it's just more of an interactive narrative experience. With that being said, it is an awesome experience, and I would highly recommend everybody who has Xbox Game Pass to play it, especially if you like music, especially if you like guitar and like rock music and / folk music. If you like that kind of stuff, and just like a story that really connects, I guess you could say, with a lot of people, I would definitely check it out. It was awesome. It was a great experience. It was worth the 4.5 hours that I put into it, and I'm very happy that I checked it out. So I played through that. I finished it off, and yeah, definitely checking it out on Game Pass if you haven't yet. Besides that, actually, played some Halo Master Chief Collection multiplayer with some guys over at the Xbox North podcast. If you haven't heard that podcast, go check it out. And that was a lot of fun. I played Halo Reach. That was one of the last matches that I played that night, and it was actually awesome. Like, Halo Reach is actually a good time. There's I know a lot of people don't like Halo Reach. Halo Reach, for me specifically, was the last Halo game I ever played in terms of like finishing off all of the first person shooter genre, because we know we have Halo Wars, right? But the first person shooter Halo games, it was the last one that I played. And I honestly only played Halo Reach like a couple of years ago. I don't know why I never played Halo Reach back in the day when it came out. I just didn't. And it was like one of those things that when it came out, since I didn't play it, I just kind of pushed off. And then I played through the campaign, and man, the campaign for Halo Reach is awesome. I found the multiplayer to be a lot of fun. So I don't know. Halo Reach is like up there as one of my favorite Halo games overall, I would say. I know there's like, it's like a mixed bag with Halo Reach, and because of like the armor abilities and stuff like that. But as somebody who got into that game late, it was a ton of fun, and the multiplayer is still fun. So played some Halo Reach and some Halo 3 as well. What else did I play? I played Scarlet Nexus. I finally picked up Scarlet Nexus, or borrowed Scarlet Nexus, and I started playing through that. I've played 2.5 hours of it, got through phase 0, phase 1, going into phase 2 of it, and man, the combat in Scarlet Nexus is on point. It is some of the most fun combat I've played in an action game like that, an action RPG. Just all of the different things you can do with the telekinesis, or whatever it's called, the psychokinesis. And then your different party members have their different abilities that you can activate and actually add a huge dynamic to the game depending on who you're fighting. And then when you hold like the left trigger and you throw something at an enemy, and then you have like the thumbsticks pop up and you have to hit them in the correct direction, I guess, in order to like make the actual attack work. It's an awesome game in terms of its combat and gameplay. I know the complaint with Scarlet Nexus, I guess, was the narrative side of the game, which so far I find it pretty good. Like, I have no real complaints about the narrative yet, and I know I'm only 2.5 hours in, and I'm sure if there is issues, I'm not going to run into those until later on. I guess it's the narrative side is more in like a comic book style, I want to say, and it's not like live. They're not like, it's not like a live cinematic scene when you're running through the story. So maybe that turns some people off, but overall, Scarlet Nexus, the 2.5 hours or so that I've played, has been a ton of fun. And I can't wait to jump back into that game more. And I played Flynn, Son of Crimson, which is like one of the games that came out on Game Pass just recently, and it was a day one game, I believe. And it's just a side-scrolling action retro style game. Ton of fun. Definitely check it out if you're into those styles of games. One thing about me is I love like 16-bit graphics and the retro style graphics, and I love side scrollers and side scrolling platformers and side scrolling action games with a retro look to them and a retro feel to them. Because I love those games back on like the Super Nintendo and like the PS1, in that era of consoles. I just love those styles of games, and when I see those newer ones coming from like an indie developer or something, I just get really excited, and I always check them out. And this one, Flynn, Son of Crimson, if you're into that kind of those types of games, I would highly recommend checking out. It is actually a lot of fun. There's puzzles, there's action, there's platforming, all that kind of stuff within that game. And I think that's pretty much it. I played Skatebird for a little bit. It's not that great of a game. For me at least, I didn't like Skatebird. It was just the gameplay and the physics aren't the best, but just check that out as well. And that's it. So yeah, like I said, it's been just a wild slate of games this weekend. That's the beauty of Game Pass. That's the beauty of Game Pass right there this week, because like you can play all these games, check them all out, keep playing what you like, stop playing what you dislike, and you're not paying for every single game. You're just paying for that monthly membership fee. So yeah, it's been a fun week in gaming, and hopefully going to continue to play through all of this stuff as we go through into next week. So let me know what you guys are playing in the comments below. And with all of that being said, this week's show is going to be a shorter show. I just really want to talk about, like I said at the beginning, the acquisition stuff and just my overall thoughts on if Xbox needs it and stuff like that. And yeah, so let's just jump right into it. So it really seems like it is that time of year again. It's acquisition season. Everybody is talking about acquisitions. And I mean, this really kicked off last year when people were talking about Bethesda and all the stuff that just happened with Bethesda leading up to Xbox acquiring it. Was absolutely crazy, as we were hearing rumors that PlayStation was trying to make Starfield exclusive and that they were going to be acquiring Bethesda. And then obviously the tables got completely turned around in terms of a narrative standpoint. Who knows if any of that stuff with PlayStation was actually as real as people were making it out to be. I'm sure they had some money and they had some negotiations in order to try to get some exclusive Bethesda games over to PlayStation, as we see them doing this a lot with third-party developers, getting that timed exclusivity stuff just recently with Knights of the Old Republic. But everything got turned in on its side. The narrative got completely reversed as Xbox swept in and actually purchased ZeniMax and Bethesda for that $7.5 billion. And it's crazy to think that this announcement and this news is just already been a year since we heard that insane news that just put shockwaves through the entire industry. And I think it was the first, well, not the first, but like it was really showing that Xbox was here to play this gen. We saw slowly they were getting back into the groove with the announcement and launch of Xbox Game Pass in 2017. This is all on a generation with the Xbox One that wasn't very good. They dropped the ball from the beginning of the launch of the Xbox One, the announcement and all that kind of stuff, and they were just way behind trying to play catch up for the entire generation. And then Phil Spencer comes in and really has turned the boat around, starting, like I said, back in 2017 with Game Pass, and then all culminating up to that ZeniMax purchase. And now we have Game Pass, and it's an amazing service. And anybody who actually has Game Passes and uses it and sees the amount of games and content that we have on there, everyone is just blown away by the service who use it. It is that good. It is an amazing value for what you pay for it, and it's going to continue to get better, as I've said many times, as Xbox starts to get rolling with their first party studios and releasing a big first party game every 3 to 4 months. I think once that starts to happen right now with their first party studios, the power of this turnaround is really going to be showing. So I think with this acquisition season stuff with last year's announcement of Bethesda, Xbox is set up for being a market leader, being in terms of content and value they provide to their gamers. They probably will never be a market leader in terms of console sold, but in terms of users, monthly users, all that kind of stuff, I see that them very well set up for what they have right now. But it seems like that's not enough. It seems like they're not done. And they've also said, even after the acquisition of Bethesda, they were going to be looking for more studios to purchase in order to get more studios under Xbox Game Studios. And this past week has just been absolutely absurd and crazy and nuts with the rumors going around with Xbox acquisitions. I don't even know where they even really originated from, where they started from, but there's obviously something going around in the background for, I guess, media members, YouTubers, or anybody who has a somewhat, I guess, inside track or inside ear to the industry, who know people who work for any of these companies who are giving them some information, because everybody has been tweeting about it, big names, small names, and it looks like potentially Xbox could be making another acquisition. I made a video about this week as well. And my main takeaway from all of this was, don't get excited right now. Don't get too crazy excited. Don't build up this insane hype, because you may end up being disappointed. One of the main things we've learned in this past year, I would say, with the leading up to and the launch of these next generation consoles, is that there will always be false information out there, and people will always push false information, mainly because, for a couple of reasons, they want views and clicks and all that kind of stuff on their content, or they're getting bad information from a bad actor that they are believing is great and true information. I mean, the main thing that I can remember that this was done was with the RDNA 3 stuff on the PlayStation 5. So all this acquisition talk right now has been crazy with Xbox, and people are saying that there is going to be just another big bombshell to the industry, and Xbox is going to be making a huge acquisition. They're making it sound like it is something massive, which gets people speculating, what could it possibly be? A lot of the companies being thrown around right now are Take-Two, got Sega that's being thrown around in there, Ubisoft, which I don't think there's a chance it's going to be Ubisoft, but that's being thrown out in there, WB Games, and there's a bunch of other things. And if one of those companies gets bought up by Xbox, it will just be absolutely insane. Or it could just be them purchasing a bunch of little developers, little publishers, stuff like that, to add to the overall Xbox game studios. With all that being said, it is acquisition season. It seems like, in terms of at least the rumors, will we get announcements? We don't know. But Sony, on the other side of things, does believe that the next big consolidation in entertainment is going to be in the gaming industry. We've seen this happen with movies and stuff like that, but the new growth area is gaming, which does make a lot of sense. So there's this article here from Video Game Chronicles and from September 18th, and it has to do with Sony Pictures chairman and CEO Tony Vinciquerra, who was talking with Bank of America's Merrill Lynch Media and talking about consolidations in the movie industry and all that kind of stuff, and was asking if they would see any more consolidations within the movie industry. And here is the response. I think the traditional medium of television and film has probably peaked, and the new growth area will be the games business, and who's better positioned than Sony for that business? I do think you'll see some consolidation on that side. You'll probably see a little more on our side as well. I do think there are probably too many film studios, and you might see one or two less over the next 5 to 10 years. But I think the next area of consolidation will be the games business. And this is something that I think we've seen coming. People have talked about this and said it many times, that the ZeniMax acquisition from Xbox is just the beginning. Whether that means Xbox is going to be buying more studios or other companies are going to be buying up more studios, that's just the beginning of what is going on here in the video game industry. Now is the time that companies are trying to really strategically position themselves for long-term success, like very long-term success, and not be left behind like what happened to some companies with the movie industry, with the streaming industry, all that kind of stuff. I mean, like, I guess you could say like the Netflix was the market leader in streaming, and I think still is. And then you saw all of these other streaming platforms starting to pop up and try to get in, but I don't know if anybody has been able to surpass or be as strong as Netflix, because they were first in and they positioned themselves very well with all of the content they provided, the acquisitions they have, the Netflix originals that they were able to create because of all of the business deals and stuff that they had and made and did all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure exactly how it worked in the movie industry, but we're kind of seeing that as well within this gaming industry. And that's why I think that acquisitions are still coming. There will be acquisitions, whether it's from Xbox or somebody else, in the next couple of years. And I think it's all to be set up as moving in that like services Game Pass direction. And because of this, I think Xbox is going to be just the market leader. They're going to be the Netflix. They're going to be the service that everyone is always going to be chasing, but just never will really be able to get there because they were first in with Game Pass. They've made that first big acquisition with ZeniMax and Bethesda, and they're going to continue to do that with more companies down the line, but who knows what that will be. And in terms of mergers and acquisitions in the gaming industry, this is according to some recent research by InvestGame that the video game industry exceeded $22 billion in 2020, and this includes ZeniMax, Microsoft, and another big one that not a lot of people talk about, but it's Codemasters 2EA, which Codemasters makes some of the best racing games out there, but that's a huge acquisition as well. And this is the highest amount in terms of mergers and acquisitions, the number in 2020, since 2016. And then we also think about all of the Tencent stuff, the Embracer Group, who just continues to scoop up a bunch of developers. And it's just going and going and going. And it's just crazy what we're seeing in the industry. And I think that is why all of these acquisition rumors keep popping up. Now, in terms of the rumors, there's a lot of people talking about it. Like Jez has talked about it. Jez Corden from Windows Central. ACG tweeted about it like a month ago, saying that there's something big happening. And when I say Jez, he really just talks about the acquisition stuff. I don't think he's actually specifically said anything that he thinks is happening recently. I'm not 100% sure, but definitely tweeting about it, talking about it. You have that Skullsy guy, I believe he's a Twitch streamer or YouTuber, who was really the first tweet that I saw where people were talking about it. And it's really just blown up from there. And people are speculating more and more as to what is the next acquisition going to be. And we're starting to see things like people talking about how Phil Spencer is going to be meeting with Strauss Zelnick from Take-Two this month at some point, and leading to speculation that Take-Two is going to be the next acquisition, which Take-Two is just so freaking big, and they have such huge IPs with like GTA and just GTA alone. I mean, there's nothing else you need to even talk about when you think about IPs that they would be getting with Take-Two. It would be absolutely crazy if they got Take-Two. Imagine having that exclusive to your ecosystem. That alone it would be done. Like in terms of, I think, user acquisition, GTA alone would be enough to just get so many more people into the ecosystem. When you look at the numbers that game does and the billions that it makes and the amount of people that still play it still since this game has come out in 2013. I mean, so still so many people playing it. So it's just crazy to think about, but I don't know if we're going to hear about any acquisitions anytime soon, mainly because these things take a lot of time to actually come to fruition where they can talk about it publicly. So if there is something in the works, the rumors that people are hearing right now today about the merger and acquisitions of huge companies with Xbox, maybe they're hearing them from an insider who knows something for sure, but they're hearing it at a point of like where the information that they're hearing is only for like internal use, I guess you could say, and that it isn't ready for the public to know about it. And the public may not know about it for another year, even if this thing is being done right now behind closed doors. So will we hear anything in the next couple of weeks? I don't think so. I don't think we'll hear about anything this year. I really don't. And that's just me kind of trying not to get too excited and get people too excited about it. But at the same time, it just doesn't make any sense that like they would have the huge Bethesda acquisition a year ago, and we haven't seen a game from those studios yet and everything like that. And then it just announced another huge acquisition a year later, and with everything that's going on within the industry. I don't know. It's just all of this stuff doesn't really make too much sense to me, but it could be happening. And I don't think that another big acquisition from Xbox is really needed at this point. I really don't. I know people want to see it. People, and I said this in my last podcast last week, but I know people just are dying to hear about more acquisition news, dying to hear about Xbox, what they have up their sleeves, because they said they've been looking for acquisitions and they're not going to stop. But I think that, like, let's say Xbox doesn't acquire another big company, big studio. Will that be something that is detrimental overall to the Xbox brand, the Xbox ecosystem? I personally don't believe so. I know I'm probably in the minority here, but I personally believe right now within Xbox Game Studios, Xbox has more than enough content, more than enough incredible developers to sustain just an absolutely amazing first party ecosystem, content distribution, whatever you want to call it, for years and years to come. I mean, it is literally going to be the premier place to play RPGs. Xbox Game Pass is going to be the best place in the world to play RPGs, Western RPGs specifically, with these studios that they have there. And once Bethesda games start rolling out, once game like something like Avowed starts coming out, and games from the next In Exile game, all that kind of stuff, they start rolling out, and we're getting these just really creative, expansive, big games every 3 to 4 months from the Xbox ecosystems. People are going to forget about just thinking about all of these acquisitions. That what's the next acquisition of Xbox? People are going to be continuously talking about the amazing content coming out from Xbox Game Studios. And I think that's the important thing right now with Xbox. It isn't the next acquisition. That's not the important thing. The important thing is making sure that all these acquisitions start to pay off. That's what I think is important right now at Xbox. And I think that's probably what they're thinking as well, is these acquisitions need to give us amazing games so that the users base and the amount of users who are signed up to Xbox Game Pass starts increasing exponentially, and that the return on investment on those purchases really start to show. And I'm sure they're already getting return on investment for a lot of them, but the overall return on investment for like Bethesda, who knows when they're going to start making back the money on that. But that's not going to happen until they start putting out like Starfield in 2022 and the next Fallout and the next Elder Scrolls, when those games release and you just see like millions of people signing up to Xbox Game Pass just to play those games, right? That's when they're really going to see that return on investment. And that's what I think they're thinking as well. But in terms of like a gamer standpoint, I don't really care. They don't acquire another huge company like Take-Two or something, I don't really care. Do I want to see it personally? Sure. Why not? I'd rather see Xbox acquire Take-Two over PlayStation. I'd rather see Xbox acquire Ubisoft over PlayStation. I'd rather see Xbox acquire any studio over PlayStation. And I say that not as a Xbox fanboy thing. I say it because Xbox acquiring, if there's going to be acquisitions and mergers and all this kind of stuff happening between PlayStation and Xbox and even Nintendo, I want to see Xbox get them all because they have the best ecosystem and they allow you to play games wherever you want, and they're the most consumer friendly. That's why I want to see it. Not because I love Xbox. I have an Xbox centric channel, not any of that. It's because they allow you to play in more than one place. If PlayStation acquires it, they're going to be forcing you to go and spend $500, $600 on a PlayStation 5. If Nintendo acquires a big studio, big developer, you're gonna have to go out and buy a Nintendo Switch to play it. If Microsoft acquires it, all you're going to have is a cell phone. You're just going to have a cell phone and an internet connection, and you're going to be able to play all those games right through your phone by streaming it. Or you're going to, if most people already have PCs, right? If they don't have a game console, they're going to be able to just load it up on their PC. And or on the other side of that, you go out and buy an Xbox. You can go get an Xbox Series S, which is the cheapest next generation console. So, I mean, that's why I want to. If I had it my way, I'd like to see Xbox acquire them, because I like to see games everywhere. I know there's always the debate of exclusiveness and all that kind of stuff, and exclusives are just marketing platforms and vehicles for a specific product, a specific box. That's all they are. And I know why they're in the industry. They have to be there for competition. I completely understand it. I think Xbox needs to have exclusivity for their ecosystem. I think they'd be crazy not to keep all of the Bethesda games exclusive to Xbox. I think they would be crazy if they were to acquire Take-Two to not keep GTA exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem. But at least you have more options. So yeah, do I want to see it? Hey, if it's going to happen, yes, I do. I would like to see it from Xbox. So, but I don't think it needs to. I think that like all the acquisition talk is just hype and people getting excited, but I think Xbox is really well set up whether they get another big acquisition or not. But yeah, that's just what I think about this. Maybe I'm going to be completely blown away next week. Maybe there will be some sort of big announcement of an Xbox acquisition to celebrate the anniversary of the Bethesda one, and it'll be really fun. It'll be really, really fun. I'm not going to lie. If something big does happen with Xbox and they acquire like a huge studio, it'll be fun. I'm going to make a lot of videos on it. We're going to talk about it. It's going to be a great time. So I'm not here trying to hope it doesn't happen. I just don't see it happening. And if it doesn't happen, I don't think it is the end of the world. And then we have the Tokyo Game Show coming up, and maybe they'll announce something there. I think the Tokyo Game Show, I'm very intrigued. I know people said that they have, or to keep your emotions or your expectations in check about it, but I think maybe we'll see some really cool Game Pass stuff from Japanese studios, and hopefully maybe we'll get a Persona announcement for Xbox. You never know, and stuff like that. So I'm excited just even for Tokyo Game Show at the end of this month, and just overall the acquisition season stuff I think is probably just for hype, and probably we're not going to hear anything out of it. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's just been crazy this week with the stuff going on, with people talking about it and coming up with all these different theories and what studio they're going to be buying next. But hey, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what studio you want, and if you think an Xbox acquisition is imminent and we're going to hear an announcement soon. Anyways, guys, that's it for me. It's a shorter episode this week. There wasn't too much stuff that I hadn't covered in my weekly videos that I really wanted to go over again, other than the acquisition stuff. And then besides that, there wasn't really anything new that came out. So that's why it's a shorter episode, and maybe I'll do more episodes like this if there is nothing necessary that I want to talk about, rather than just talking about anything random and maybe wasting more time than not. But hopefully there'll be more stuff to talk about next week. I usually like to get these shows to about 45 minutes to an hour. It's a little bit shorter than that this week. But with all of that being said, all of the explanation about the length of the show this week, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for watching. I did want to mention one more thing. There is merch coming. I know I've said that a couple of episodes ago, and I was expecting it for like the second week of September. We're going into the third week, but I'm hoping by the end of this month it will be ready, launched, and you guys are going to be able to go and check it out. I'm very, very close to having it all ready and launched, but I just want to make sure that it goes smoothly when I do launch it, and that there isn't any hiccups or anything like that, because that'll just be worse for everybody if it were to be like that. And hey, I know people have asked about supporting the channel and where can they donate and all that stuff, and although I appreciate there's absolutely no obligation to spend any money or anything like that on my channel, just watching, subscribing, and sharing my content is more than enough, because at this point it's just about really growing this community, growing the channel, because the more the channel grows, I mean, that's the support that is awesome to see, and that will be able to help me, I guess, make more content and kind of do different things and bigger things. But the merch is another awesome way to support, because at least you're getting something back in return. But again, no obligation. And I know all YouTubers have merch and all that kind of stuff, and I do think it's a decent way to support. Just like I said, you get something back in return rather than just giving money, not getting anything back in return. Yeah, no obligation. I don't care about any of that kind of stuff. Just thank you guys all for watching. Thank you for your support. And I will definitely be doing some like advertising for it, just to let you guys know that the merch is out there. And if anybody's new to the channel, that they are able to find it. So I may talk about it, maybe not this week, but next week at the beginning of some of my videos. So just in case you guys are running, I don't want to annoy anybody with any of that kind of stuff. But yeah, again, yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, thank you for your support. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you this week in the videos and next week in the Plumecast.